It was an ordinary Monday morning when João Silva parked his old 1998 Ford pickup in front of the most luxurious Mercedes-Benz dealership in São Paulo. While million-dollar cars gleamed under spotlights, his rusty truck looked like a dinosaur among spaceships. Slowly, he stepped out, adjusted his worn-out straw hat and took a deep breath. His hands were rough, marked by decades of labor in the soil, and in his pocket, he carried a stack of crumpled papers that meant more to him than gold. He wasn't there to impress anyone with appearances. He was there to fulfill a sacred promise. Before we go any further, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful life stories that will move your heart. As soon as he pushed open the glass door, the icy air conditioning hit him like a slap. The marble floors shone like mirrors, classical music whispered from hidden speakers, and the strong scent of Italian leather filled the hall. Three salesmen dressed in expensive suits stopped their conversation and turned to look at João. Their eyes scanned him from head to toe, dripping with disdain. To them, this man with dusty boots and a straw hat didn't belong here. He was an intruder in a temple of luxury. A faint laugh escaped one of them, as if João's very presence was a joke. Ricardo Mendes, the sales manager, couldn't resist showing his arrogance. With a smirk, he whispered to his colleagues, and soon the laughter spread. "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place? This is Mercedes-Benz, not a junkyard." The others chuckled. Patricia, a saleswoman standing nearby, covered her mouth to avoid laughing out loud, but her eyes betrayed the mockery. Another added with a sneer, "What are you going to pay with? Milk from your cows? Or maybe eggs from the farm?" The laughter exploded across the showroom, bouncing off the polished walls. To them, João was nothing but a poor farmer out of place. But João didn't flinch. He had faced worse in life and people far harsher than these. Adjusting his hat, he remained calm, his voice steady. The laughter hadn't even faded when João spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "I'm here to buy trucks. 15 Mercedes-Benz trucks." The words echoed through the showroom like a thunderclap. For a second, the salesman froze, then burst out laughing even louder. "Did you hear that?" Ricardo mocked. 15 trucks. What is this, a toy store? Patricia leaned closer and whispered loud enough for João to hear. Maybe he thinks this is some kind of farm equipment fair. But João didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on them, steady and unshaken. "I'll pay in full. Cash. Right now." That single sentence silenced the room. Not because they believed him, but because of the way he said it, without hesitation, without a tremor, as if he carried truth heavier than gold. Ricardo almost doubled over, his expensive watch glinting under the lights as he laughed uncontrollably. Patricia slapped her hand against her thigh, unable to contain herself. Even customers from the other side of the hall turned their heads to watch the commotion. 15 trucks, Ricardo mocked loudly. "What's next? Paying with milk and eggs from the farm?" The room erupted in laughter again. To them, it was the funniest thing they had heard all week. But João's face didn't change. He didn't blush, didn't stutter, didn't try to defend himself. He simply adjusted his straw hat and stood taller, his calm presence beginning to unsettle the arrogance around him. "May I see the trucks now?" he asked firmly. "I have the money ready." The silence that followed was heavier than the marble floor beneath their feet. Ricardo scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. "Sir, do you even know how much a Mercedes truck costs? This isn't a bull cart." João reached into the pocket of his faded shirt and carefully pulled out the bundle of folded, worn papers. His voice carried no anger, only certainty. "I know exactly how much they cost. That's why I came here today. I need 15 of your top-of-the-line models fully equipped." Ricardo didn't even glance at the documents. He waved his hand dismissively and turned to Patricia. "Call the used car dealership down the street. Maybe they have something more appropriate for him." João's eyes narrowed, his tone steady but cutting through the arrogance like a blade. "I didn't come here for used cars. I came here for brand new Mercedes trucks. Paid in full." The room fell quiet again. Something in João's calm persistence was beginning to disturb their laughter. Patricia crossed her arms, smirking. "And how exactly will you pay for all this? With soybeans? With corn?" João inhaled slowly, holding back the sting of her words. He had heard them before all his life, people judging by boots, by shirts, by the dust of the fields. Then, with a steady gaze, he answered, "With a bank transfer, clean money, earned honestly from my land." Ricardo chuckled again, his arrogance refusing to bend. "Your land? What is it, a couple of acres lost in the middle of nowhere?" João's reply was sharp, without hesitation. 12 farms, in 4 different states. Over 20,000 hectares of soy, corn and cotton. Exported to China, Europe and the United States. The laughter died. For the first time, Ricardo's smile faltered, but pride chained his tongue, forcing him to keep up the act. "Do you realize what 15 Mercedes Actros cost? More than 7 million reais." João unfolded one of the papers, his voice firm as steel. 7,450,000 reais. I've already done the math. The precision in his tone struck the showroom like a hammer. Ricardo forced a laugh, though it sounded hollow now. "Anyone can look up numbers on the internet," he sneered, "but paying is another story." João calmly folded his papers back into his pocket. "Then let me speak to the owner. I can wait." Patricia rolled her eyes. "The owner doesn't waste time with just anyone. He only meets VIP clients, real businessmen." "Then schedule me in," João replied. "I'm not in a hurry." And with that he walked to the leather chairs in the reception area, removed his straw hat, placed it gently on his lap, and sat down. Minutes turned into hours. Customers came and went, glancing at him with disdain. Whispers filled the air. "Who is that man? Why is he sitting there like he belongs?" But João didn't move. Like a seed buried in the earth, he waited in silence. Patient, steadfast. For him, this wasn't about 7 million reais. It was about a promise greater than money. As João sat silently, memories flooded his mind. He saw her smile again, his little girl, only 8 years old, lying in a hospital bed with eyes full of hope despite the pain. "Daddy," she had whispered, her tiny hand gripping his. "When I get better, can we help the children who don't have money for doctors? Can we build a hospital for them?" His throat had tightened that day, but he had forced a smile. "Yes, princess, we will. I promise you." That promise had become the fire that carried him forward. Every field harvested, every sleepless night, every deal closed. All of it was driven by her dream. Now, in this dealership filled with arrogance and pride, he wasn't just buying trucks. He was building a future, brick by brick, for children who would never know her, but would live because of her dream. And nothing, no laughter, no contempt, no insult, would make him walk away. The tension in the showroom thickened. The sound of high heels echoed as Margaret Fonseca, the wife of a powerful congressman, walked in. Her designer bag cost more than most people's cars, and her eyes immediately locked onto João. "What is this?" she asked loudly, pointing at him as if he were a stain on the marble floor. "Since when does this dealership allow people like that inside?" Ricardo rushed to her side, nervous. "Mrs. Fonseca, please don't worry. We are resolving this situation." Margaret's voice grew sharper. "Resolving? My husband is a public figure. Our image cannot be associated with that." Her words struck like daggers, but João sat still, his hat on his lap, his gaze calm. Ricardo leaned down toward him, his tone more threatening now. "Sir, important people are here. You'll have to leave." João raised his eyes slowly, his voice deep and steady. "I am no less important than anyone else." Patricia laughed bitterly. "Of course you are. Look at you. Look where you are. Do you really think you belong here?" João's answer cut through the air. "I belong anywhere I decide to be, especially when I came to pay in full." The room went quiet for a moment, but then Margaret let out a sharp laugh. "Pay in full? With what? Monopoly money?" Once again, laughter rippled across the showroom. Yet João did not rise to their mockery. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out the crumpled papers again. This time, he unfolded them slowly, deliberately. These are bank statements, export contracts, land documents, every cent earned with honest work. Ricardo didn't even look. He waved a dismissive hand. Anyone can fake papers these days. Even children know how to print false documents on a computer. João's voice deepened, controlled but burning with an inner fire. These are not fake. They are as real as the soil under my boots. And I came here to fulfill a promise that's worth more than every car in this showroom combined. For the first time, the arrogance in the air began to falter. Whispers spread among the staff and customers. Something about this man, his calm, his dignity, his unwavering presence, was beginning to break through their pride. The silence in the dealership grew heavier than marble and glass. Everyone was watching João now, not as a joke, but as a mystery they couldn't ignore. Ricardo tried one last time, his voice strained. "Sir, you're disrupting business. You're making clients uncomfortable. This isn't fair." João slowly lifted his gaze, his eyes steady, his words sharp as truth itself. "Fair? You laughed at me. You called me a beggar. You asked if I'd pay with milk and eggs. You judged me by my clothes, not by my worth. And now you dare speak of fairness?" His voice cut through the showroom like thunder. No one moved. Even Margaret, who had mocked him the loudest, stood silent. João reached once more into his pocket, this time pulling out a sleek black card. He placed it on the table in front of Ricardo. "Call the bank, confirm the balance, see for yourself." Ricardo hesitated. His pride chained him, but his trembling hands betrayed the truth. He knew this man was not a liar. And in that moment, every sneer, every laugh, every insult collapsed under the weight of a single reality. The value of a man is not measured by his clothes, but by his character. Before you leave, ask yourself, have you liked, shared, and subscribed? Don't miss the next story that might change the way you see the world.